My name is Megan Barner, and I am a physical therapist and health and wellness coach who works with individuals with POTS and chronic fatigue to help them rebuild their energy so that they can thrive again in their lives. I'm very passionate about working with this population as I myself have these conditions, along with a connective tissue disorder called hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome that I have been learning to navigate over the last decade plus. It took time and quite a few paths to figuring things out. You can get there too. It just takes guidance and support of a good care team. On that note, I would like to remind you that everything I share on this video is for informational purposes only and is not to take the place of any medical advice. Please check with your current care team before implementing any of the suggestions that I share with you, as we are all on our own journey with these conditions. If you'd like to learn more about having me join and work with you as part of your care team, I'll be sharing some information towards the end of the video. So this video topic, I'm guessing, is going to be very close to many of those who have dealt with POTS and or fatigue. Why do I get so tired when I exercise? It is for a couple different reasons. And the first piece is I want to say you're not alone. I still struggle with this a bit myself, as the conditions that I have all come with fatigue, and they do seem to play off of each other. Fatigue is actually something that quite a few with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome deal with, and when you layer on POTS and the chronic fatigue itself, that can be fun when you're trying to figure out how to exercise, because you keep getting told exercise is going to make you feel better. And I've been there, both on the side of the patient being frustrated and on the side of the clinician as a PT and the side as a coach feeling frustrated for that you just can't exercise because it makes you feel so darn tired. What's going on? Well, there's 3 common factors that I've seen in working with individuals and in my own journey that I thought I'd give some insight on, and then give some guidance tips on how you can be less tired when you exercise for this particular video. So one of the main reasons, at least with POTS, when we exercise, our heart rate goes up, our muscles may feel crampy, we get more brain fogged, our stomach may hurt, we may feel like we're going to pass out, is the pooling of blood in our abdomen and in our lower extremities. This is related to changes in how well the body is able to regulate your circulation or your blood flow and constrict those vessels and squeeze everything back up to your heart and to your brain. And when we are upright, that challenge of just moving and our heart rate being higher when we're upright can be tough to navigate in and of itself. But when you add on exercise, that's an additional stressor that your heart is trying to pump and regulate your circulation throughout your body. One of the contributors to this is being dehydrated. And it doesn't take much to become dehydrated if you are navigating POTS. Now, we all tend to need different amounts of the common electrolytes, that big one, sodium, that helps us hold on to fluid and expand our blood volume. But there's also magnesium, potassium, and chloride that are helpful to manage our fluid balance and help us better tolerate exercise. Some of us may need a little bit more boost than the typical 2 to 3 liters. And that is why it is super important to work with your care team very closely and see how much they recommend for you to figure out how to better tolerate exercise. Because guess what? Exercise can increase your blood volume. You just got to get to the point to be able to tolerate it so that you don't feel so tired when you do it. The other big piece that I have noticed both in my journey and working with others is the state that exercise shifts our nervous system into can be tough to come back out of when you have POTS. So when we exercise, no matter who you are, you shift into more of what's called a sympathetic state, where your heart rate goes up, your respiratory bronchioles dilate so you can have better air exchange, you have more blood pumped to your muscles. However, if you're already in more of a sympathetic nervous system state with POTS, it can be a bit difficult for your body to function and manage how far you go into that sympathetic state. It's kind of like how much you're pushing on that gas pedal, to use the analogy of a car. and for your body to in turn engage what's called the vagal brake, like you're going around a turn. You're not necessarily stopping, but you're trying to regulate that extreme acceleration of your gas pedal or your sympathetic nervous system on your heart and your cardiovascular system, and how it affects your circulation and ability to keep up with what you're exercising. So if we get stuck in this sympathetic state, for some, that may mean when you stop doing your exercise, your heart rate stays high and you begin to feel a adrenaline surge or a surge of energy, or nervousness or anxiety may come. That's where it depends upon the person. I tended to feel very good right at the end, but with a couple hours later, this goes more with the chronic fatigue as well, I would feel like I hit rock bottom and my body would just want to melt into the sofa or the floor, and I would just chill there. Sometimes it would feel like I was going to pass out, but my body was becoming overwhelmed. That added stressor of exercise pushed my envelope of how well my nervous system was able to regulate itself a little bit too far. So you have to figure out some ways to address that. I'll share in a second. The third piece that I've recognized often working with individuals is the activity that they're selecting to do is not matching the nervous system state that they're in, or the level of aerobic or strength conditioning that their body is currently at. They've either been told or decided to follow a specific protocol. Protocols are great, but we're all at different places in our journey, and having a professional, whether it be someone such as myself, a physical therapist, jump in and help you figure out where you are and how to match the activity that you're doing with your nervous system state. If you are currently in a very sympathetic, or what some call persistent sympathetic activated state, and you layer on exercise that's going to push you further, especially aerobic or upright strengthening exercise where you're doing large muscle groups, your body may get much more tired faster because you're not able to regulate the state that you're in, and it's not matching where you currently are with your strength and your conditioning. Of the three that I've mentioned, this is the most common with most of the clients that I encounter, both as a PT and a coach. They're trying to fit into a certain mold of being told to do a certain amount of activity every day, and they're pushing too fast or too much. Or they're adding it in during a time of their life where their body is already under a lot of physical stress from other conditions that are going on. But just to repeat, exercise can be very beneficial as it increases your blood volume. It can increase how well your heart pumps so that your heart is more efficient. Having better muscle strength in your legs and in your abdomen can help squeeze that blood back up to your heart and your brain where it needs to be so you are less symptomatic. So all of that said, how can you be less tired when you exercise? I circled around this for a lot longer than I like to admit sometimes as a physical therapist, but I had trouble actually embracing that I needed to take a different approach than typical for how to condition myself physically and nervous system wise as well. First of all, less is more. It takes small steps to see progress, and it takes patience. So jumping on a bike for 20 minutes may be a bit much. Even jumping on a bike for a 5 to 10 minute warm-up may be a bit much, depending upon where you are in your journey. Slowly starting with a few minutes and building every couple of days. Giving yourself rest days, especially when you're doing more aerobic activity, I have noticed have been helpful for myself and some of the clients I've worked with. How many rest days do you allow yourself in a week? I was thinking I had to do some type of exercise every single day and was not factoring in that there's other activities that I'm using that cause me to A, use up the energy battery, and B, actually do movement. So I began to relabel exercise as what movement can I incorporate into my day-to-day and mindfully understand how well my body is responding to it. That's my second point here. Really listen to your body and learn how to gauge your recovery. It takes a lot of interoceptive awareness, understanding and feeling what's going on in your body, like when your body's sending you signals of your heart rate going higher or getting sweaty, or your body's not responding well with how much sweat it should be having going on with a certain activity, or if you're feeling fatigued suddenly. Those are just some examples of what might happen when you're beginning to turn into your body. There's two metrics that I've mentioned in a couple of my other videos, heart rate variability and heart rate trends, that can really help you figure out if the exercise you're doing is matching your window of activity tolerance. I use that term loosely, as it's usually applied to what our nervous system can tolerate, but what our nervous system can tolerate in the case of POTS is oftentimes related to the amount of physical activity that we can do. That said, everybody's a little bit different as to what movement they do best with. Oftentimes, the protocols that are out there for POTS suggest that you start in a more reclined or lying down position, like using a recumbent bike or doing something where you're horizontal. Some people do well with rowing. I personally did not do very well with it from some of the hypermobility I have in my shoulders and my spine, but for many, they like it quite much. There's other seated exercises that you can do, and choosing mindfully, but also looking at what can you do lying down, lying on your side, lying on your belly. Can you help your body adapt to positional changes just by rolling between back to side? That counts as exercise. Having a provider, again, such as myself, that's knowledgeable to be able to give you some guidance or on your care team so that you can know how to progress and build can be super helpful in that. In the why I'm tired, I also wanted to re-highlight that you want to try to build up your blood volume or balance your fluids and your electrolytes before you exercise. If you go into exercise dehydrated, you can have some not so great side effects like feeling like you're going to pass out, muscle cramping, extreme fatigue, stomach cramping. But especially when your body is more sensitive to becoming dehydrated, having the fluids before and you work out and then following it up after, and the amount of salt that you have talked to your care team about to manage throughout your day and before you exercise. And definitely last but not least, I know I mention this quite frequently, but just like I said in the why am I so tired, you can help yourself not be so tired by learning how to regulate or shift the state of your nervous system from that sympathetic state when you're exercising back down into a parasympathetic or rest and recovery state after you exercise. You can begin to incorporate it in while you're exercising. My favorite way to do it is with breath work, pairing it with certain types of somatic practices and movements to begin to show your body that it can regulate itself through movement. I like to start people with that quite frequently before we push the envelope with the aerobic activity, but you can definitely do that to bring yourself back down out of a higher sympathetic state when you're exercising regularly or every other day, like I was talking about, so that you no longer feel like exercise is an energy drain, but it's something that actually helps you rebuild your energy. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you are interested in working with me and my becoming part of your care team, I'm happy to speak with you. I offer a free 45-minute consultation for anyone that is interested. I have a link to schedule below this video, or you are welcome to send me an email at megan.varner@guidetoresilience.com. And I hope you continue to progress and move forward and can find an exercise or movement practice that works for you.